Okay, I'm just getting the sound sorted out to make sure things are correct before we get going. And setting up the live stream. So the Xingu has been updated, I guess is the news of the day. Exonia has appeared. Finally made a live stream. Love your content. Thank you very much. Okay, so I need to get this airplane up and running. So I'm going to run through the checklist, so I won't be looking at the live stream for the next few minutes. First things first, let's go into control options and make sure we got the correct profile. So we've got a single engine at the moment on the quadrant, which is wrong. We'll also need to change the elevator profile. This plane is twitchy as anything. Have I got one for the EMB-121? I'm not sure if I have or not. Yes, I have. And on here we've got the damped version. There it is. So all I've done on that, if I just show you, I have damped out the y-axis to make it less responsive around the centre of its travel, to make this more controllable, because it was extremely pitchy before. Okay, so I've got on live weather, but I've just changed the time of day to 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh look, there's a bird dog next to us on the airfield here. So it's all stock scenery today, no custom scenery. This is all going to be absolutely as it comes out of the simulator. So, if you bear with me a few minutes, I need to get the cockpit started. I've got FS Realistic running, which is why you can hear odd sounds in the background. Cockpit. Close the doors, remove the chocks, etc. in the tablet. So we go and open the tablet. And this has changed. Oh my word. Or maybe it is the same, but I don't remember it being this good before. Okay, so we've removed the chocks. I don't think we had any doors open, did we? That's one of the changes. This used to default to having the doors open, and you had to go around closing them. So it doesn't anymore. Okay, so are the key bindings the same? Control 4 is overhead, which is good. But it appears to have a different zoom level than it did previously. So main bar in the middle. Here's the main bar, and battery goes to on. And we still get the warning, which is interesting. So back overhead. AC bar on the left, inverters 1 and 2, or sorry, converters 1 and 2 to on. External lights bottom left, nav to on. So let's just have a quick look down here. Where is the nav light? There it is. Anti-collision lights to on. Seat belts to on. No smoking sign to on. In the co-pilot position, which is control and 5, we go legs left auxiliary to auto. Right auxiliary to auto. Left main to on. Right main to on. Overhead, control 4. Engine ignition and start section in the middle, left start to start. So start. Then we come down to the instrument panel and we're looking at the NH. So NG, sorry. At 12% we can move the left fuel condition to idle. So we've obviously gone straight past 12%. So left fuel condition can go to idle. Keep an eye on it. At 45% it can go to high. So it's just coming around to 40. And advance it to high. Can't really hear anything out there, but... So, control 4, overhead. Left generator goes to on, so it's on the main bar in the middle. So here's the left generator, there's the right generator. So that goes to on, or generator 1 they're now calling it. And right start goes to start. And we come and look down in the cockpit, we monitor the NG. I've just gone and changed the transponder number by accident. So when it gets to 12%, we can advance the fuel condition for the right engine to idle. And the stick is starting to shake. That's FS Realistic doing that, I think. And when it goes past 45%, we can advance that to high. So control 4, main bar in the middle, right generator goes to on. Pressurization at the top left, AC to on at the bottom right, vent to on, vent to vent in the middle, left cutoff valve to open, right cutoff valve to open. Down on the pedestal, control and 3, we go and set the target altitude we'll be flying at today, which will probably be no more than a couple of thousand feet, so we'll do that. Again, we're not going to need to pressurize the cabin really. And we have a warning. Now, I saw this once before. It may be that that needs to go... We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what annotations come up. So, in the cockpit, radio master to on. So that's down here behind the yoke. I'm just going to remove the yoke for a second. Radio master to on. Wait for the GPSs to fire up. And obviously we can program the route if we want to into the GPSs. We'll probably do that. So we're getting a hydraulic pressure problem. It's probably because the engines just aren't advanced enough. Yeah. So the light we were getting, the warning, was just because we weren't running the engines up enough, so we're getting low hydraulic pressure. Okay. So we're just waiting for this to pick up. We can turn the weather radar. Should we put it on 10 miles and see what happens? I'm not sure if it actually works. And there's not, as you can see, there's not any weather for it to see. We're going to move the propellers. I'm going to pull the throttles back to idle, which will cause it to complain again, but we're not going to worry too much. So control 4, left static pitot to on. So I'm just trying to remember where all this stuff is. There's the inertial separators, here we go. And we need to get moving before we really hang around doing that. So calibrate altimeters, so press B, I think that was already done. Flaps for takeoff, that's that done. Propellers max RPM, done that. Transponder to on. It's on the left side of the weather radar. So that's not it, that's it. Okay, so we'll program the route once we're in the air. There's no hurry to do it. So you can see there's hardly a breath of wind. If anything, it's coming this way down, so we'll go and backtrack down at the far end of the runway, and I'm going to go and have a look at the live stream chat. Oh, everyone's talking about Flight Sim 2024. So this aeroplane is very, very similar to the Banderanti. Oh, look at that turning circle. They've improved that. Very cool. And it's following the track of the tyres. Just try and avoid smashing up the bird dog, which I don't think we're going to. We're about to wipe his wing out. Yep. So it isn't that this aeroplane is complicated, it's that it's realistic. There's a lot of aeroplanes in Flight Simulator that are not. So, oh, we haven't uncaged the... Did I miss that on the checklist? Uncaging the standby attitude indicator. I must have done. So on our first leg, once we have finished circling the airfield, being nosy, we'll program the GPS with the route. Coming through 100 and nose up. Gear up. We haven't done the lights, have we? Oh my word. Oh, we did. Sorry. We can put the strobes on there though. We should have landing lights on below 10,000 feet, so we'll do that. And flaps can come up. So we've just taken off from Santorini. So we pull up the information. Astypalaia, sorry, is the name of the airport. So we're going to be going and exploring the Greek Isles, or Greek Islands. So we're taking off from Astypalaia. Let's just have a quick look at LittleNavMap because it gives us a handy list. Then we're going to Santorini, Milos, Paros, Syros, Mikonos, Naxos, Ikaria, Samos, Leros, Kalymnos, Ippokratis, and Diagoras. So it should be good fun. It's going to take a while. Okay, so our first leg will be 250 degrees out across the ocean. So we'll make the turn to 250, then we'll set the autopilot on heading mode while we're doing it. We'll get the engines sorted out. So we're just coming up to 3,500 feet, coming up towards 4,000 feet. This thing shifts, doesn't it? So 3.5 would be better. So we're just trimming it for 3,500 feet or thereabouts. Doesn't want to do that. Anyway, so (3,500 feet). Let's get the autopilot on. Altitude. Of course, because we're almost at that altitude, it's targeting it straight away. So if we go a heading mode, whoa! I missed the the knob there. So we want 250 degrees. Okay, so let's go and have a close look at these engine dials now, and we're close to... oh, we're fine on torque actually. So I can probably push it on a bit more, but I'm not sure if we can overdo the speed. Yeah, look how fast this thing is. I'm going to pull the volume knobs back a bit, as the turboprop crowd tend to call them. See, now we don't really need the engines in high idle. Okay, so we're set and we're off across the ocean. So LGPL was our first waypoint, so flight plan. That's where we took off from. Then we're going to LGSR. Santorini. Then Milos, LGML. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Whoops, wrong button. Clear, clear. LGPA. Paros. Next is Syros, LGSO. With a bit of luck, we'll get this done before we get to the destination. LGSO. Keeps things interesting while we're doing the crossing, doesn't it? I've done it wrong again, haven't I? Clear, clear. We need to get the focus in the right place. There we go. LGMK. Mikonos. Next is Naxos, LGNX. Naxos, enter. Next is LGIK for Ikaria. LGIK, enter. Samos, LGSM. Enter. And Leros, LGLE, or Leros, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. What was it again? LGLE. LGLE. Leros, enter. Kalymnos, LGKY. Ippokratis, LGKO. And finally, Diagoras, LGRP. There we go, flight plan's done. So if we zoom out, we can see the route. Hurrah! We can also see the island we're going to cross past, so you can see it just coming. Anafi. Oh, I can see there's going to be quite the debate in the comments about the new simulator. I think I've written a blog post about it. I'm not going to get into it. So let's go and turn back towards our course a little bit. This cliff is quite severe here, isn't it? Should we change the time of day to see if we can make it look a bit more dramatic? Oh, no, that's not the time of day, that's the weight. If we go earlier in the morning, which side is the sun from us? It's behind us, isn't it? Look how stable this aeroplane is. We're going to have a nose around in the cabin. It's very nicely done, isn't it? Give the developers the credit. It's become a really, really good plane. This is an angle of attack meter, if you're wondering. This aeroplane, it has stick shakers built in. I should put the yoke back in. It has stick shakers built into it because it was actually quite dangerous and they lost a few when it was in development. The blog post is at johnbeckett.substack.com. I can tell you, basically, I can do a précis of what I was saying. My only concern, really, seeing the teaser trailer is, and again, it was a teaser trailer. God knows what hardware they ran it on or what configuration they had for each shot, because it would have been the best possible, wouldn't it? My only concern is based on if they are going to make the trees that much better, and if they are going to do that much more atmospheric modelling to do hurricanes and stuff, the hardware requirements are going to go up again. And if you think about it, every piece of software that comes out, certainly every game, aims at the maximum hardware possible for its kind of middle ground at the point it comes out, aiming that, you know, a year later, if the software's going to be around for a while, a year later that hardware will be the middle of the road. So you'll be looking at Flight Sim probably needing a 4090 card to run in Ultra on this new version, and I think that's a bit of a disaster because it's already almost only the 1% can afford to run Flight Sim on a PC. It's already getting towards that, and it's going to make it worse. So there they are, turning it into a game with adding all of these activities to do, but what teenager or even young 20-something is possibly going to afford the hardware to run the simulator? And I think it's a disaster. They're cutting off their nose to spite their face, basically. If they're going to try and aim it to everybody, they need to make it run on far lesser hardware, which means not requiring a 4090 card. But I think that's the way it's going. And you can say, yes, that's the way of the world, and all of the shooter video games and stuff, they all require immense hardware. And you get all these people that are streamers that play them all day long and have spent more than their car on their PC to do it. But that, yeah, it becomes kind of the 1% of the gaming market can afford to be a part of the gaming market. So it's kind of a death by 1,000 cuts that Microsoft are going for more of the 1%. It's just ridiculous, I think. Well, that's just my personal opinion. But other than that, yeah, it's the same simulator. And obviously they're taking a step back. They're making braking changes to the engine, which is the same as it. It's a 4-year-old. It will be a 4-year-old piece of software by then. So, you know, it's time to go and make the changes they need to make. But you know, it's just the way the gaming market works, that games, at the point they come out, target for their highest level settings hardware that doesn't exist. If anybody has played, oh crikey, what's it called? Cyber something. It's like a futuristic Grand Theft Auto type game. It looks incredible on the latest graphics cards, but you need a computer that costs as much as a car to run it. Okay, so we are approaching Santorini. So the airfield is on this side of the island. There's 9 knots from the north, so we're going for runway 33, but we'll go and descend down. So coming off the autopilot. Should we go and have a quick look at Navigraph and see what we can find out about the area? Because obviously Navigraph has these wonderful vector maps. So we can get charts of the airfield, obviously in Navigraph, which are not gonna give me what I want. We're not doing IFR today, so we're just going to circle around and have a look. So I'm going to go around the airfield and then come in at this end. Just going to go be nosy first. It's amazing scenery, isn't it? Can we... Okay, so they've got this is clipping. It's a shame that they've got this animation. I wish they wouldn't do that. We could have just had a nice smooth nose boss on the propeller. I don't know if you've ever noticed, Asobo have really figured that one out. And all the aeroplanes that they've contracted to have built don't have these ridiculous animations on the nose bosses. So we'll come in and do a touch and go at the other end. I'm just going to circle around first. So this is Santorini. So yeah, the mic's just saying, wonder what this aeroplane is. Yeah, it's the EMB-121, the Xingu. It was updated. I got an email from the developers today saying they've updated it, if you wouldn't mind having a look at it. So here we are. Any excuse to go for a fly, hey? Just the last thing I'll say about Flight Sim 2023, or 2024, sorry. It did amuse me, the people who are already saying, well, I'm sticking with 2020. Yeah, that happens every time anything new comes out. There's a whole brigade of people that say, right, that's it, they've had enough, they're not changing, they're going to stick with what they've got. And yeah, they're the same people that end up running Windows 7 for the next 20 years. And then complaining bitterly when they can't install any updates of anything. Unfortunately, the world moves on. How are we doing for speed? Bit of an unconventionally steep approach, but this is a fun flight today. There's something taking off just in front of us, isn't there? I can see some lights on the runway. Okay, it's somebody in the simulator in a jet fighter of some description, which is obviously showing up as an A320 to me. Okay, so gear up. Okay, next leg. It's a shame this doesn't have the 530 and the 430 stacked, because then you get to use rose mode. So we could do it here, but it's the rose mode and then we get to see the direction. So we want about 280 degrees, is that? 275. So we'll move the heading bug round. So say goodbye to Santorini. Autopilot can come back on, heading mode can go on. We can go for a target of 2,500 feet and climb at 1,000 feet a minute, and we should be good to go. So Tim Miller is saying, is this plane available now? Yes, it's been out for a while. It's been updated several times. So this is the EMB-121 Xingu. It's available from, oh crikey, what's the developer called? I got it from Sim Market. You can buy it from Sim Market. I can't remember the name of the developer, I'm afraid. Okay, so we're just intersecting the nav. Should we try this out? So we're in GPS mode. Let's go to nav mode. And it's doing roll hold. That's... Ooh, what's going on with OBS? Is that okay? 11350. So, should we have a play with that? See if it works. So we'll switch over to VOR navigation. So we'll put this back in heading mode for the moment. I remember this. We were talking about this with a developer, because it's only got... Yeah. It hasn't got standby frequencies on the physical hardware, therefore you can't do it here. So you can only modify the active frequency on the... there we go, look. So we can fly straight for that VOR. So if we go nav mode now, it will do it, look. So it's a lot happier, and of course we're on the track now as well, which is helping it. So we're flying straight for the VOR. So obviously you can see that's not though. Oh yes it is, it's just it's overcompensated. It's gyros. Autopilots run on gyros and they overcompensate sometimes. You can't expect them, especially in older aeroplanes, to perform wonders. You have to get them in the ballpark before you engage them usually. So we're going to skim past these islands. Where we're going is way out over there. Yeah, so we've got a 50-mile trip out across the bay. We're heading for the VOR. And then we'll skip across to Milos. Milos? I'm not sure how the correct pronunciation is. Should we get a bit of altitude en route? So let's go for 5,000 feet. Do it at 1,000 feet a minute. This airplane shouldn't have any problems doing that. Holding 1,000 feet a minute on the vertical speed indicator. Altitude is climbing. It's looking good. So, do we have to worry about fuel tanks? This is a low-wing aeroplane. Where's the fuel selector? You'd think I would have checked that, wouldn't you? Does it have one? Although we did have an awful lot of fuel at the start. So there's the breakers. The switches are very close to your head, aren't they? So we've got RPM, torque, radios. Oh, here we go. So we've got fuel flow and quantity in each tank. So yeah, it's automatic. There is a crossfeed as well. The beep you just heard is we are within, yeah, we just come through 4,000 feet, so we're within 1,000 feet of our target altitude. We're going to have a look at the islands as we go past. So the island off of our right wing right now is Sikinos. In the far distance, I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's where Homer is buried apparently. Interesting. Chora, I guess, is the common name for the island. That's the one. It must be the big one there, I guess. And the ones that are closer, this one here, is Sikinos. The one directly in front of us, that we're about to pass over in a moment or two, Folegrandos. I'm probably murdering these pronunciations. Does the radar work? That's a really good question. I think it's a weather radar, isn't it? But obviously there's no weather to see today. Yes, WX. So it's a weather radar. Only insofar as any of the other weather radars work in Flight Simulator, I believe. So 5,000 feet. So let's have a look. We're going to pass by these islands that are here. The island we're going to is over here. Remember, we're heading for that VOR, which is out on the headland. It's out here, but we actually want to go over here. Let's see if we can get this to just track. So get rid of the message. Interestingly though, look, that's in GPS mode. It should have been in VLOC. But it still went into nav mode all on its own, so it was tracking, though it wasn't tracking the line, was it? Interesting. So if we go back to heading mode, which is about 30 degrees off, then it will pull us back onto the straight line track. Yeah, you can see that there. See, and if we put this back to GPS, you'll see, yeah, there's the line for the GPS track. We're obviously off to the right of it, which agrees with what we're seeing here. That would be based on that being 286 degrees on the course, so we can make that agree with it. So there's 286 is going to be about there somewhere. Although it doesn't make any difference in terms of the needle with their GPS. The course doesn't really have a meaning other than a visual aid. Yeah, this Xingu II is really good. The EMB-121. It's kind of looks the part. It's a bit like how do we put this? The CRJs, things like that. The Aerosoft aeroplanes, they kind of look the part, but the switches and knobs and buttons don't all do everything you might expect them to do. So it's not super steady level, but there's loads to play with. I like it. I think it's very good. Should I go and switch off FS Realistic Pro? It's being annoying, isn't it? Has it actually gone away? Yeah. So you can see, look, we're about to cross over. We're in heading mode, remember. So if we go to nav, we are close enough for it to do it, look. So it'll probably bank very gently right in a moment and put us on the track. There we go, look, there goes the flight director telling the aeroplane to turn right. And it's getting the HSI onto the centre of the... Well, CDI, sorry, onto the centre of the course. Someone didn't close the doors properly, can hear the wind. This is very... This could be true. Or it's just aeroplanes nearby. Oh, it said... There we go, that's what's making the noise. Should we name and shame them? Of course it won't draw labels for anybody that's too close. We have a number of people following along. How far have we got to go? Let's have a look. Should get a distance down here, 15 miles to go. So I'm going to descend us back down to 3,000 feet. Do it at 500 feet a minute. And while that's happening, I'm going to go make a quick cup of coffee. I should be back in time to circle the next airfield and have a look. So back in a moment. Right. I have coffee. Let's come off the autopilot and have a look around. So let's go back to the map. So the airfield is on the edge of the water across the way here. So it's over here. So just looking at LittleNavMap. Wind on the ground. 330 knots. 330 degrees, 5 knots. So it probably favours runway 26. So we'll again do a circuit. Do a right circuit around the airfield and come in. It's very dramatic scenery, isn't it? So this is, what was the name of the island again? Milos. So we're going to circle round and then come in at the far end. Scoot down to that side so we can see out. How are we doing for speed? Okay, we can get a gear down. So we can watch that happen. Oh, Sim's frozen. All the multiplayer aircraft are about to disappear. I hope they fix that in 2024. Whatever causes that with memory management is an absolute nightmare. Either that or some sort of threading issue. Okay, so just putting the flaps down to do the touch and go. Our turn's too close now. I'm going to have to turn away from the airfield slightly. On the speed, we're getting very slow. Okay, next leg. See the GPS rotating slowly. So the actual track is... it's not very clear on here, is it? It's a shame. So let's spin the heading bug around. So we probably want about 70 degrees to go and get onto the track. So let's just trim the airplane out. Autopilot on, heading mode on, altitude hold. We'll come up at 500 feet a minute to get to 3000. And we're off to the races again. We get the lovely sunrise to watch on the way. So what on earth is a lamb souvlaki? I've never been to... well, actually I have been to Greece a long time ago, but not as a grown-up. So we are off next, 36 miles across the sea to Paros. So we've got 53 degrees. Is there much wind? There's a bit of a crosswind. So if we set ourselves 53 degrees on heading mode, we'll probably blow ourselves back. It's about there-ish, isn't it, on the compass? The wind will probably blow us across to the track without us having to actually do anything. It's a great looking aeroplane, isn't it? What's the volume levels looking like? Okay, so I am defeating the noise of the plane. We can have a look at the fuel. See if we need to get any fuel at the next airfield. It's over here, wasn't it? We're still good, aren't we? Still got 3/4 of a tank. Both wings. Should be able to complete the entire trip on this tank, you would think. Where are we on the course so far? Although we've got a long way to go. That's if we complete it tonight. If I get tired, I'll just park the airplane somewhere en route and complete it another night. We might only get as far as Naxos maybe tonight, we'll see. So Paros is next, then Syros, Mikonos, Naxos. Turbulence. Just had coffee, should be good to go. We'll see when we get there. Have a look at Navigraph and see what we can find out about the next airfield and actually have a look at it properly this time. So open the charts for standard. They don't have anything for Paros. Okay, there's nothing on the Jefferson charts for it. Oh, that's a shame. Is there any visual routes in? No, nothing marked. What does LittleNavMap have? Nothing really. It's just a really... It's offset, isn't it? The marker is offset from the airfield. It's a tiny airfield, 2,600 feet. There's a holding pattern out there. Astypalaia. Have a look at the IFR low charts, see what they look like. Pretty much the same. Obviously they've got the corridors. Oh well, we're being buzzed. We can hear it. There we go. So what is he really? Let's have a look. There's a hawk. I haven't got the hawk installed at the moment. Okay, so how far to go? About 50k, maybe 25 miles, something like that. Let's have a look inside the aeroplane, shall we, instead of guessing? We're in GPS mode. That's interesting. This is still measuring that VOR station instead of the next leg of the route. It's got the correct leg highlighted, it's just not showing the correct distance. That's interesting. I wonder if we toggle the CDI, if it will wake it up. No, it won't. It's only going to do the radio mesh distance there. But if we pull this down, this is counting down. Okay. It's just that the readout here was only for the radio. I didn't realise that previously. So, estimated time en route, 4.5 minutes till we get there. So what are the names of these small islands we're about to cross over? Does Navigraph give their names? No. It's a shame. I bet Google does. Strongly. Despotico. And Astypalaia. Before we arrive at Paros. So what do we have at Paros? Just looking at some of the names of the places around the edge of the coastline. Crotiri. There's a big tourist resort there, isn't there? Mike Coffee. Is the clue not in your name, Mike, that you need a coffee? This aeroplane's quite good, isn't it? It just kind of does what it says on the tin, really. You can swap the radio kit out, so there's options in the tablet for that, I believe. Yeah, you can do it here, look. We could swap out the GPS for the PMS GTN 750. I'm not going to, because when you do that, it wipes out your flight plan. So just looking at the landscape going on here, there's a flat kind of floodplain here, this side of the island, where the airfield is, or where the airfield is nowhere near the marker from LittleNavMap. So, although saying that, that's got the airport marked here, so they must have moved it. It's been rebuilt. I wonder if we'll be able to see that in the landscape. So wind is from the north, 10 knots, so we're going runway 35, so we'll probably, if we cut off right here across the bay and then turn in, that would probably work, wouldn't it? So let's come off the power. Start descending across the bay and then turn in for a direct approach. So you can see the airfield down here. Let's go and scoot across the cockpit so we can see it on the way in. So if you're wondering why there's no music in the background, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but the last time I used music I had 15 copyright strikes on copyright free music, and I started doing some research, and the same company that was doing the copyright strikes and that dug their heels in and wanted to go to court over it, they had also done copyright strikes on various sound effects people had recorded, like rain, and they'd threatened to take those people to court as well. So I just deleted the videos that where I'd had music on them. Kind of gave up on it. So we're going to turn right, bizarrely enough. We're not going to turn for the runway. So we'll fly out this way a little bit and then turn right in a complete circle, and will hopefully line us up. Just keep an eye on that vertical speed and on the indicated airspeed. Make sure we don't get into too much of a situation. So holding level 1500 feet. So no, 1250 feet. Holding airspeed. It's quite a steep turn. We're just managing it. And then if we scoot over here, we should see around the corner of the post here, and we should see the runway line up fairly straight. There we go. So obviously we lost some speed in the turn, which brought us out quite quickly. Okay. Straighten the view up, sit up. So this is Paros airfield. So we'll have a look in a minute over here and see if we can see the remains of where the airfield might have been. Because quite often you can see marks in the fields if that has happened. We're being pushed to the right. It's quite a short airfield, isn't it? So we were interested in seeing if there are any signs. Is that the old airfield? Looks like it might be. There's definitely a feature there, isn't there? Maybe across there as well. Maybe it was a wartime airfield that's been dug out. There's certainly something that direction and that direction in the fields. Reclaimed ground, as they say. Of course, I could be wrong. It does kind of make sense. Is there anything more that we can see anywhere? Evidence of past earthworks? No, not really. Okay, next leg. 25 miles, 337 degrees, but we want probably 345 to rejoin the course. So we'll turn in steeply. Whoops. And 345 degrees will be there. And we'll see the track coming round on the map. Coming up to 3,500 feet, let's stop climbing. So if we go for 3,500 here. Autopilot on, heading mode. It's looking good. Should we have a look at the window as we leave? So that was Paros that we're just leaving. Now we're off to Syros or Syros. How are we doing on speed? We can probably push this on a little bit. We're nowhere near the torque limit. There we go. Obviously we just drink more fuel the faster we go. We're not running the propellers at full speed. We haven't been the whole flight so far. We've been on low idle as well. This is all hard runways. There's no reason to run high idle. So should we put FS Realistic on now? We've realised where the source of the sound nearby was coming from. and it will make us animate, so we won't sit still in the cockpit, which makes it a bit more immersive. Although it's saying that it's a very still day anyway. So we are heading directly for the next island. So the way we're going, we're going to skim the right edge of it, which, yeah, that makes sense with what we're doing here, look. So that would work though, because that means we can do, although we're going to go straight in by the look of it, Syros, although we could circle it, fly around the airfield to have a look at it, and then come in runway 36, and then depart to the east over to Mikonos. So Roland's just on about the Paros airfield. Yeah, the stock airfields for some areas of the world aren't very accurate at all. But that's because they've just been, you know, built by AI to put buildings in roughly the right places. That's why there's an aftermarket to build very accurate airfields. If anybody hasn't got it yet, there's a really, really lovely rendition of Duxford airfield in the UK, where the RAF museum is. It's available for free from FlightSim.2. It's really good. Also the Kern Valley airfield in the US, there's a free download for that one from FlightSim.2. It's very, very good. Okay, should we do this from outside? FlightSim's just spectacularly good at that kind of silhouette lighting, isn't it? It's very, very cool. Okay, so we are approaching Syros? Does anybody know the pronunciation? Duxford is the Imperial War Museum. Okay. The only downer with Duxford is it's quite difficult to get to. I think I'm going to have to do a museum there at some point. I'm going to take a load of pictures and share them on the internet with people that can't get to museums this part of the world. There's quite a good one over at Hendon, which isn't too far of a day trip for me. Okay, let's go and come off the autopilot. So we're going to loop around the airfield and have a look at it, and the island obviously. I'm just going to descend down, go around the coast a little bit, and loop around the airfield. We're actually going to come in this end to suit the wind. So if we just have a quick look on Navigraph, where are we? So if we go and pull up the airport weather, so variable 3 knots, there's no wind. Nothing worth worrying about. So this plane appears docile. I've damped down the elevators. It's quite pitchy. It may have changed. I might try it back without the damping on the centre area of the elevators, but apparently that's why it has angle of attack in the cockpit. So just have a quick look at that. That's why that's there. Because you think about it, it's quite a short body, and they had problems with it. With you know, I think they actually crashed one when it was in development. It's like having a Banderanti or a King Air with half the airframe weight and half the length. Same engines. How are we doing for speed? Scrubbing speed off as we go so the gear can come down. Make sure we don't hit a hillside. It's quite a big hill here, isn't there? Just keep an eye on the airfield until it's about our kind of 5 o'clock position, and then we'll turn in for the approach. So we'll drop the flaps so we don't stall in the turn. Yeah, look at it losing speed as soon as we start turning. Just open the engine back up a little bit. See if we can get the lights to light up correctly for us. Full flaps. Descending. Hopefully we should get 2 red lights sometime soon. There we go. 1 red light. 2 red lights. 3 red lights. Whoops. We're now officially too low. They don't always pay a lot of attention to the lights in flight sim once you get close to the airfield. They're not always very accurate. Okay, flaps are back up to takeoff position and rotate. So, where was our next direction? 82 degrees. So let's go and spin this round to 82-ish. That's about right. So just coming up towards 3,000 feet, so we'll just take the top out of the target altitude. Okay, so altitude, autopilot on, heading mode on, target for 3,000 feet, vertical speed is winding off, perfect. Off to the races. I'm going to wind the engines back to 75%. say goodbye to, what was it called again? Syros. So we're now off to Mikonos, which is obviously tourist mecca. How much data does it give us on Navigraph? Navigraph is much more about just the functional data of flight, not so much about tourism, because the only reason I'm getting that data is because I've got the Google Terrain overlay in LittleNavMap. We could have the OpenStreetMap data if we wanted to, but then it does all the languages, they're not anglicised, which makes it more difficult for me. So, wind on the ground at Mikonos, 367 knots. So we were going to go for runway 34, so we'll fly around the airfield, come in runway 34. Let's do a bit of sightseeing on the way. So off of our left wing, we have got Panomos. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Tinos and Panomos. Kaloni. So I guess there's where we're going, and over the other side off of our starboard wing we're about to have Renea, is that? And Delos. Wasn't Delos the name of the company in Westworld that bought out the theme park, or the robot technology? Was that Delos? So Gulf Coast Tim saying, one reason I like your channel is not only because you do reviews, but you also do flights like this. Yeah, I just like flying around, really. And the sim's just frozen, hasn't it? So it's going to crash the multiplayer. There it goes, it's released it. So yeah, I just like flying, really. I like flying around and seeing the world. I'm a bit of a so-and-so. If ever I do organise group flights, I organise them all over the place. I hardly ever go somewhere I know, because I'm more interested in going somewhere I've never seen. So I wonder why they chose Delos as a name in Westworld. I wonder what the mythology is around Delos. Yeah, just reading Tim's comment about if you follow the Pappy lights or the what are the other sorts of lights? My brain is not working today. But yeah, if you follow the lights down, there's a discrepancy there, and it's quite odd sometimes. The payware airfields tend to be okay because they've been corrected. So Mike's off. See you soon, Mike. Okay, so we're almost here. Let's go and find out where the airfield is. So it's on top of that area, just off of our 3 o'clock position. Or sorry, not 2 o'clock, I should say. So it's over here. Look, it's quite a long airfield, actually. Quite a long runway. So we'll fly around out over the headland there and come back in. Gives us a chance to see it, doesn't it? So let's come off the autopilot, pull the power back, and descend down, and hopefully past this town low enough to get a decent look at it. There's obviously a port down here. Should we do this from outside? I need to be a bit careful because this is obviously a lot harder than the wrong way. Let's do this from inside. Although saying that, it's quite pretty out there, isn't it? Okay, we're slow enough to put the gear down, which will act as a natural air brake. So just line up the wrong way off of our right wing. Flaps for landing position for a touch and go, and to help us make the turn without stalling. See, one of the fellow aviators is just on approach down there. Okay, let's swing this round. Yeah, these lights look to be a bit better, look. They're holding 2 whites, 2 reds, although I've just lost it a little bit, gone a bit high. But better than they were before. So back to idle, let the aeroplane fall onto the runway. Flaps back to takeoff position, engines back to full throttle. 100 knots and rotate. There's a bit of a crosswind there, so we're just crabbing into it gently. Gear up. Flaps up. So that was Mikonos. It's a lot more built up, isn't it? As you can see, the tourist areas. Okay, so where are we going next? Directly south, so we'll circle over the island and then 172 degrees down to Naxos. I may call it an evening at Naxos and continue the journey another evening because I am getting tired. So 172 we want, so let's go and move our heading bug to give us some reference. There's 172 is probably about there. Just coming up for 4,000 feet, so we may as well set that as our target. And autopilot on, heading mode on. No big surprises from the autopilot. We pretty much nailed it on the climb out and setting it, so there we go. How are we doing on fuel? Let's go and have another look. We've got half a tank. So we've got plenty. We could have done the whole route probably. So 21 miles over to Naxos, and then I'll do the remainder of the route another evening. So we've done about 200 miles worth of it by the time we get to Naxos. Could do with a few more degrees on the compass. Let's go 180. Just pulling ourselves back towards the track. Should we zoom out so we can see it? Big island. So we're going for the eastern, sorry, the western edge of the island. So we're going just down here. This is Naxos. So the actual island name is Astypalaia. So Gulf Coast Tim is saying he really needs to get track IR. Yeah, so do I. I could really do with it. I just use the right mouse button and pan around. Certainly I'm hanging out before I start doing any DCS videos in anger, as it were, until I've got some sort of head tracking, because it's almost impossible, because there's so much you have to do in DCS in the cockpit while also looking around. So that, you know, doing what you might do with a commercial flight just isn't possible, because you're usually flying one way, looking over your shoulder at whoever's trying to shoot at you, and trying to operate controls in the cockpit. Let's just drop down to a couple of thousand feet. Do it at 1,000 feet a minute to get it to happen fairly quickly. Pull the throttles back so we don't overspeed. There we go, altitude's coming off. It's quite interesting in this one that you get the single digits, and all the aeroplanes do that. So where is the airfield in... Okay, so it is right on that edge. It's the one we can see directly in front of us. Yeah, that is the airfield. Okay, so let's have a look. Have we got any charts for it? For Naxos? Doesn't look like it. What about if we just go and have a really close look at it? So it is just a very basic strip. We could go to satellite view on this to get a better look. If we turn the airfields off, it doesn't really give us much, does it? That beep was within 1,000 feet of our target altitude. So off of our wing over here, let's have a look from the cockpit. We've got Naxos. There's a couple of windmills down here. There's a boat. I need to add one of the boat add-ons, don't I? So we get more things in the ocean. I've tried a couple of the freeware ones out in the past. I know there are some really nice commercial ones as well, though. Wonder if I go and lean on them if they'll let me have a freebie. To be honest, I don't ever try and chase freebies. Sometimes people come to me and say, okay, we're releasing this product, would you like to do a video with it? Which obviously is just marketing for them. But it's quite rare that that happens. You will have noticed actually in the notes of this stream, for the first time I'm mentioning all the details about my machine and the various add-ons I use to fly with. Part of the reasoning for that is Navigraph approached me today, and they've given me a year subscription as long as I mention Navigraph. Obviously Navigraph isn't really useful for VFR yet. It is in the UK because they've got lots of data on the VFR tracks into the airfields, the patterns. But Navigraph really comes into its own for instrument flight. So, you know, they've obviously got the relationship with Jeppesen. So you get the versions of the Jeppesen plates. So I'm having to start to, if I am using something that that I've been given, I will obviously always mention it, and, you know, full disclosure that maybe if I haven't paid for it, or if a developer has given me an aeroplane to show you, I will always say that I've been given it, rather than just you presume that I've paid for it. And I'm going to be completely fair if I'm reviewing something. The only one I've ever actually, no, there's a couple of times I've angered the developers. One was the Boeing flying boat, where I went and bought it day one, and it was in a bit of a mess, a bit of a state at the time. I've not looked back at it, to be honest. And the developer dug a bit of a hole for themselves. They reacted badly to a lot of the bad press they got for it. So just coming off the throttle. The only other one was DC Designs. They objected to me comparing their F-14 to the DCS F-14, which obviously costs 4 times more, but they really objected to it and claimed all sorts of things about the accuracy of their aeroplane, which obviously most people have no way of knowing. But again, they kind of overreacted. You can't compare the DCS fighter jets against any of the ones in Flight Simulator, because it's a different simulator, a different way of simulating. The flight models are out of this world better than Flight Sim for fast jets. And of course you can blow stuff up. But the scenery in DCS isn't a patch on Flight Sim. But that's not the point of DCS. Okay, this is the final airfield for today, so let's go and turn in and see how we get on. So gear down, let's put the flaps down to help us around this corner without stalling, keeping an eye on the indicated airspeed. flaps. This plane has become very, very good, I have to say. So we're a bit high. We have no lights to guide us here. This is entirely visual, but it should be fine. Oh, there's a tree in the way. Great. So we have to play games with skimming the tree on approach. Is it a palm tree? No, it's just a generic flight sim tree. Of course, we have got reversers on this. Take a while to kick in. There they go. So I need to double back. I love the turning circle on this. It's fantastic. Right, let's go and park. Obviously this is, yeah, just a stock airfield. It hasn't got detail that a payware airfield would have, but we don't really mind. Plug brake on. Let's go and turn some lights off, shall we? They were overhead, weren't they? It's easier to see them with Control 4, was it? External lights, nav, anti-collision, strobes off, landing lights off. Generators off. Inverters off. Obviously we're getting warnings now. Close the vents and the aircon and the pitot heats, and that's all fine. That was the starters. That automatically switches off. Seatbelt and smoking signs can come off. Turn the radios off. Okay, so I think we're pretty much good to go with turning off the batteries. How'd you get out of this thing? Is there a switch for the door? Do we have to do it up? Oh, we have to do it up in the cockpit, don't we? It's in the tablet. Always forget that. So we want the chocks put in place, please. We'll have the covers put over. We'll have the GPU unit. We'll have the baggage doors opened. Are they going to open? The main door open. There we go. Right. I think we call. Oh, why are the engines still running? We have no power to anything, and it's still. Ah, the fuel condition levers are still on idle. That'll be why. Oh, at least we get to watch the propellers wind down. see what the animation's like. It's pretty good. So I think following the update, this is an absolutely cracking plane now. Really, really good. So obviously you saw it's quite involved in the startup procedure if you were here at the start, but I've written all of that up, so it's not actually too onerous to go through. But yeah, great little aeroplane. So you can download. I think I put a link in the live stream with a link to where you can download all my procedures. It's just at kofi.com in the shop there. So okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. If you were following along, we'll finish this flight off another evening. Okay, see you soon. Take care.